Yo, what's up? We out here. It's the Buff Missionary. It's 1:02 in the morning. I gotta stop doing this. It's crazy. But hey, we out here, and I wanted to talk about a Vespers that I was at a couple hours ago. My buddy has been doing this project called Home of Shalom. My guy Tyler Kern, my best friend up here in Michigan, man, for a good minute. We started the seminary together back in 2019, and we both bonded over the fact that while being in seminary, we do not identify as seminarians. If you know, you know. And we both have no interest in being traditional pastors, even though we were both working towards our MDiv, the Master of Divinity, which is typically a degree that pastors are sent to the seminary to obtain, to become better, more knowledgeable pastors, so on and so forth. But being able to connect over the years and kind of be in harmony with our ideas of changing the game, doing things a little bit differently, not going the traditional route, that's my guy. That's my guy, 100%. And his project, I'm gonna put a link to it in the video here, is Home of Shalom. And basically this is non-traditional church where it's just a community of people getting together on a Friday night as opposed to like a Saturday morning type thing. And there's an in-person community as well as the online community as well. It's a really cool vibe. And on a couple of the occasions that I've been present for it, I was asked to come and do the music. So I did that tonight, especially because this was the last time that it's going to be in person here at my friend's house, because he's accepted a call to go and serve in the community of Mideastern. It's like on the eastern side, Spokane area, Spokane, Washington, like 45 minutes from Idaho out there, and really close to Walla Walla University. Shout out. That's the only reason I know anything about that area, because I went there to do a talk for their missions emphasis week last year. So we'll definitely miss my friend Tyler and his family as well. He has a handful of kids, and they're like my nieces and nephews. I love them all, man. But the topic that was covered tonight was confidence. Now, one of the things that I like about Home of Shalom is that the topics that we have covered and that have been brought up aren't always, here's the Bible verse, let's study it and let's read it. It's more of a conversation about, could be literally anything, and then it gets to a point where it can be tied back into the scripture and maybe taking a spiritual or a biblical perspective on how we want to approach that. But the idea of confidence, I think, is interesting because of how it relates to other Christian elements. I'll put it to you this way. Growing up, confidence, I wasn't sure how to respond to the idea of confidence. There was a big part of church and the Christian aspect talking about being humble, embracing humility. There was the aspect of putting others before yourself. There's the aspect of you don't think of yourself almost at all. You're thinking of either others or God, and then whatever's left you think of yourself. And then there's the idea, I guess with humility is where I had the biggest issue, not in terms of looking to be humble, but in terms of understanding. And here's why. Everyone has natural abilities, things that you do you're good at, things that you discover you're good at some point. And it always felt like, well, because of the fact that you're a Christian, you're not supposed to be good at something, or you're not supposed to be confident in your ability in something. the impression was almost like you had to put yourself down or make yourself seem like less than, even if it was an area where you had natural ability or a skill set that was there. It felt like, well, you have to stay humble, so don't put it out there, don't be confident in that, always put it down. Really weird dynamic where you could see people who actually were gifted in areas but and had every right to be confident in that area as a gift that God would have given them, but because they're Christian, they're taking like a superly humble route to where they're putting down the gift and acting like it kind of just is what it is. And so that really never sat well with me, especially because on the other hand, you have where Christians are trying to be the best in certain regards, and you're supposed to have confidence in God. Like, I don't know. It was just a strange concept. So I appreciated the talk on a number of different levels. But what I wanted to kind of get at here is, we relate to confidence in a number of different ways. And I think that each of us needs to figure out how we react and relate to confidence. The first question was brought up, like, is confidence something that you have in yourself? Is it something that you have on a spiritual level? Is it both? And there were varied responses in both directions. But someone defined confidence as the power of belief. And I like that. You can believe in a number of different things, but you can be confident in those things dependent on and in proportion to the amount that you believe in something, the power that you believe in something with. And what this does, this idea of believing in power and kind of just the idea of believing in general, it led me to almost immediately, as soon as I heard the word, I was like, oh man, you got to be kidding me. There was a statement I'd always heard growing up, perception is reality, that I used to argue against vehemently. Like, how in the world are you going to tell me that perception is reality? Your perception is whatever you think it is, but it's not reality. Reality is reality, and you're just seeing it differently. But the issue is that perception is reality. In other words, it doesn't matter really what's really going on. What matters is how you're responding to what you believe is going on. What matters is what you believe about what's going on. The perspective at which you're seeing that is something that could be different from reality. But if that's the way you're choosing to relate to it, then it is your reality. So perception is reality. The way that you see things and the way you operate is your reality. Our guest, a guy named Meshach, him and Tyler play ball together, and I've worked with him a couple times before. And he told the story about a guy who was taking his tests in school, and he wasn't a great student by any means, but he goes to take the SAT and ends up getting the grades back, and he got like a 1400. And so he goes on and ends up excelling in university and all this kind of stuff, and he's just killing it. And it's kind of weird because people are like, you are not a good student. How in the world are you doing all this kind of stuff? And then come to find out later, when they go back and check the test, he actually received the wrong test result. And his real test result was like a 700 as opposed to the 1400. Well, what happened? How is it that somebody who actually was at that 700 level could be excelling in college and all this other stuff? Because perception is reality. He'd been told for a long time that he wasn't capable. And then he takes this test and he gets a grade back, and he believes in the fact that he got that score and what that represented. And then he lived in accordance with what that score was saying about him, or what he believed it was saying about him. It totally changed the game up. So perception is reality. Now, it works on both ways, right? Because if we're told something very positive and encouraging, we might take that and run with it, and we have confidence in that, and we end up doing pretty cool things. But on the other hand, if your perception is very negative towards yourself and you have a lot of negative self-talk, etc., well, then you can almost expect that your production is going to decline. You're going to do worse, not only in if it's a job or whatever it is you're trying to contribute to, but also and especially in relation to yourself and how you view yourself and treat yourself. It's interesting. Perception is reality. What is it that you have confidence in? I definitely believe that perception is reality these days. Now, what makes this idea of belief interesting, especially on a spiritual level? Because more often than not, someone who says they are a Christian or believes in God will say, yeah, I believe that God can do that. I believe that God can do that, right? And we look through the Bible, we see the stories, and we say that we believe these different things that we see happening there. But we really have to ask ourselves, do we actually, though? Because, yeah, God did it for those people back then, but can he do something like that for me here and now? And we really struggle with making that connection between the God that we see in Scripture and the God that we claim to be in relationship with today. And so it's tough. And there's so many cool notes here. I'm kind of just all over the place. I'm not recounting the entire conversation. It was like an hour and some. But some things that stood out to me. The fact that we really don't believe and we really don't have confidence, even based on the things that we've seen, whether it's in what God has done through Scripture or whether it's in our own lives and the big wins we've seen ourselves get, those moments that we see ourselves take the next step. And then our lack of confidence chalks it up to, well, we got lucky, or just happened to be in the right place at the right time, or well, I'm not confident that I could replicate that or do that again, even though I just did it. So it's interesting when you think of confidence and how it relates to that. We have to step our game up, really. How does our view of failure play into what we think and believe about success? Well, Michael Jordan, he had that awesome commercial about how he missed so many shots. He had opportunities with the game on the line and he blew it. All the stuff that the turnovers, whatever. And then he finishes out the commercial by saying, and it's because of these things that I succeed. This is why I succeed. How many of us view our failures as a stepping stone to success, as opposed to just the end of the road? It should be another step on the path, especially if we're on a path that we actually want to be on and we want to see what we believe is at the end of that path. So failure should be a stepping stone, not a barrier, not a wall, not an unopenable gate that you cannot get through because you messed up that one time. So we got to change our view on that, especially when we consider that failure is essential to success. I actually believe that. Can you really say that someone has succeeded if they haven't gone through any hardship? More often than not, you're going to say, well, you can trust this person who's made it here now because of the tough times that they went through. Think of Thomas Edison and the light bulb, right? 1,000 attempts, 999 fails. Well, each one of those better informed what he would do until he would get to that 1,000th attempt and succeed. So failures I think they do have significance and are essential when it comes to success. If you think of, let's say, working out or gymnastics, and there's a move that you're too weak to do, hopefully it would inspire you to get in the gym and get stronger, right? So your failure can be essential to your success. It's very rare for people who don't feel some kind of deficiency on their own part to say, I'm going to go in the gym just for kicks. And I'm going to get bigger and stronger just for kicks. No, people are in there for very specific reasons, and a lot of them have to do with the insufficiency and inadequacy that we feel about ourselves, our performance, our looks, or the way that we contribute to other things that require strength. Okay? So, yeah. Failure is essential to success. But at the same time, confidence then within this structure should not be bound to failure or success. That's what I said, right? Yes, your confidence shouldn't be something that goes sky high when you succeed, and it shouldn't be something that dips down into the dirt when you fail. It has to be more constant and consistent than that. It's got to be based on something more level than just the successes and the failures, because we all know that we're going to experience both in life, and it doesn't make any sense for us to say that, well, only because I had a good day my confidence is high, and then when it was bad I'm going all the way down into the gutter. We should be seeking to find balance, and I think we have something in these notes that help us with that. Part of this idea of staying more even keel and not getting on the roller coaster of success and outcome of failure is that success and confidence take time. So building up to where we're in a place where I'm willing to take that risk or make that choice, it takes time. And for things that we are uncomfortable with, that we wish we were more comfortable with, it doesn't happen overnight. It takes practice, it takes reps, it takes a lot of failure. That's how we get better and eventually succeed. I like this idea here. It takes time to have the right amount of confidence. In other words, you might go through life feeling like, man, I wish I had more confidence then. But what if it's the amount of confidence you needed to have at that time? And then what if a little bit later, because of that, it inspires you to have the right amount of confidence for that next time? It's possible that God could work like that. I think very possible that God could work like that and actually keep you out of trouble because your confidence isn't up at that level yet. And then when it is, all of a sudden you're faced with the exact opportunity that confidence is built for. God, I don't know what I was trying to say with this sentence here, but the concept was like, God is building up your confidence so that when you reach a certain point, he's building up your confidence over here and you're going through life over here. And there's certain points where they intersect, where the level of confidence that you have in that moment that God has built up within you, if you've accepted the challenge of growth to get there, meets with exactly the right moment of your life that it needs to for you to take that big next step. I like that idea. And you have to be confident in that. Speaking of God, he has us. God has us. He's got our backs. There are going to be great things that happen in life. There are going to be not so good things that happen in life. There's going to be successes as outcomes. There's going to be failures as outcomes. But no matter what, God still has our back. So when we understand that, the mentality should be not to look at the successes and the failures themselves, but to keep looking to God, because he is the constant that keeps us in the middle and keeps us balanced when things are going really well and when things are not going very well. It's more having confidence in the spiritual sense in him and his consistency, as opposed of confidence in our own ability to do something consistently, if that makes sense. We got to stop looking at ourselves and look more to God. This was a really, really powerful statement that was shared between my friends that were the main ones on the video, on the program. Ooh. Yep. We know that God can, but we don't live like he will. We know that God can, but we don't live as if he will. And this is a big one, because it kind of goes to perception is reality again, right? If that's true, and I believe that it's true, it's not only true for the things that are overtly said, but it's also true for the things that are not overtly said. So if I don't live in a way that's showing that God could do this for me, it's probably because I don't have the confidence or the belief that that could actually happen. And if that's true, I might need to reevaluate the way that I relate to Scripture and to God. Because I might be missing something, right? And I think that this idea of living in a confidence that God will do something, it changes the way that you operate. From just the possibility to something that is a definite. It changes things. I could take gymnastics, for example, right? The difference between can and will. Somebody who says, well, I could practice my back tuck. And they just always say could, they're probably not going to get better at the back tuck. But somebody who says they will do it, whether whatever happens when they go to do it is all good or all bad, they've still taken a step further than that next guy, than the first guy. And when you're living as if something will happen, it literally does change the way that you live. And that's like the pretty slick phenomenon with it. When you believe something to be true, you act in accordance with it. So you have people who think that they're no good, that they're going to fail, and guess what they do? They fail. And you have other people who feel like they're going to win. They're hyping themselves up that they have what it takes to make it to the next level. And what do? They win, they succeed, and they take it to the next level. It's that confidence that's in there driving that, and the lack of it that results in the other more unfortunate response. Okay. Something that people don't think of when it comes to confidence, because of the way that we want to separate confidence from the idea of self so much, is that even in the Bible, God had confidence in Job. He talks about how when the deceiver goes and is talking to him at the council in heaven, the Lord is like, well, look at my servant Job. Like, he's about that life. You could take everything away from him, just don't kill him, but you're gonna see, like, he's about this life. I believe it. I'm confident in him that he'll come through. And Job does. He delivers on that, which is kind of crazy, but genuinely incredible. Confidence, right? Confidence and bones. I've broken a bone before. It was these two bones in my wrist, maybe about this far down from the actual joint. Absolutely painful. But if there's anything that I noticed, and you might be able to see it here, let's see, this might help with this illustration. If you look at my wrists, you might be able to tell that one of them is a little thicker than the other one, right? And it would be this one. So bones that break actually heal back stronger than what they were before breaking, which is interesting. You wouldn't necessarily expect that. You'd probably think, well, it's going to be compromised. It's going to be weaker at the spot. But actually, no, the very spot where it breaks becomes the new toughest part of that bone because of the bone tissue that builds up around it and reinforces that. In addition to the bone healing in and of itself, which is kind of amazing. And somebody compared it to this idea of relationships also that are broken. Relationships that are broken having the potential to be stronger if they are healed, almost in the same exact way as a broken bone. And so, again, like, what do you have confidence in that you can make it through and experience something like that? Or when you get to a break or something that challenges the way that you relate to other people or to God in particular, does it feel like it's over? I can't remember the song. I don't remember the album. I see it. William something is one of the guys on it. I don't remember his name, but they had little interludes between the tracks, and one of the guys in the interlude, I guess some pastors talking about this concept of the knowing and unknowing of God. It talks about how you're supposed to doubt, you're supposed to fear, and it's in those moments where God is able to show up better for you because of that context that you have. And it's like, well, yeah, you go through moments where you feel like God let you down, even though he didn't, but you learn from those things, and it actually builds your relationship with God to be stronger if you stick with him through that. In personal relationships, let's say you and a friend have a falling out. Well, what happens if you bounce back? Instead of just saying, whatever, I'm out completely, what happens if you bounce back? Generally speaking, the relationship is stronger because now you know even more of the boundaries that you have set up. Now you know more of what everyone is cool with. Now you know how far you can go. So everything becomes stronger if you can stick that out. It's pretty cool. The question came up, well, how do you have confidence when things not going your way, or even when they are? How do you not get too high? How do you not get too low? And this is actually something that I threw into the discussion as the floor was kind of opened up for questions and comments. You don't trust somebody you don't have a relationship with. Majority of the time, you don't trust somebody you don't have a relationship with. So if I'm going to ask for something from someone, chances are I'm going to ask the people that I know the most, the people who know me the best. I'm not going to ask some random dude on the street because there's no incentive there. There's no relationship there. There's no connection. Why would I be confident in what that stranger would do for me? No, where the relationship is where I'm going to have the confidence. And on that note, it actually hits on two different levels, because you can have a relationship with yourself. How do you view yourself? A lot of people experience a lot of negative self-talk because of how they communicate to themselves. And as a result, they erode their own confidence within themselves because of the voice that exists within themselves. And then when you think of others and with God, again, how strong are those relationships with the other people? How strong is the relationship with God? The better the relationship is between yourself, between you and other people, between you and God, the better the relationship is, the more trusting you're going to be. So the biggest way that we can have confidence is by actually spending more time with God in the Word and in prayer, because as we spend time, the relationship grows and we trust somebody more that we have a better relationship with. So I really like that concept, that idea. Let's see. Last couple points here. And I guess this is the point of that one. When you have that confidence in you, the relationship is better between you and yourself, others, and with God. You find that balance point, right? So it ends up being the relationship that brings the balance. That's the thing that you can keep coming back to, no matter how good or no matter how bad things are, if you've taken the time to invest in that relationship. And the last point I thought was pretty cool. I wasn't expecting to hear anything along this line at all, because it's been a while since I've talked about anything like it. But the idea of solitude in nature and how that promotes your confidence. You know, you go out on a night that's dark, and you go and you see the stars, and you realize, man, there's so many galaxies and different places out here. And you think, you know, I feel so small and insignificant given all of this. And yet the Bible tells us, somewhere, I think it's in Psalms, I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. So in the midst of all of that amazing that's out there, you were fearfully and wonderfully made. And God is telling us that so we can have confidence in who he made us to be, to accomplish the things that he wants us to accomplish. So are we going to pretend like we have no confidence and no faith and just act like it's whatever? Or are we going to embrace a life of confidence and start living in the power of belief, start making the things that we perceive reality simply by perceiving them and living in harmony with that mentality? I think that's real confidence. And I think that's something that we can have. And I also think that my mind is slowing down and I need to go to sleep. So I'm going to do that. Like, subscribe, and share. It's the Buff Missionary. We out here and we out. Peace.